Your refrigerator once lasted 20 years. Today, you are lucky if it makes 8, and the Made in USA label does not mean what you think. In just a generation, American manufacturing shrank from 30% of the economy to outsourced parts and empty promises, all for 5% corporate savings hidden in SEC filings. But how did a mark of national pride become a hollow marketing trick? Here is where the unraveling begins. In the years after World War II, American manufacturing didn't just dominate the headlines, it powered the economy. Factories stretched from coast to coast, churning out everything from refrigerators to radios, and by 1950, manufacturing made up nearly a third of the entire United States gross domestic product. 18 million Americans punched the clock in these plants, earning wages that could support a family and buy the very products they built. There was a sense of pride in the work, and it showed in the goods themselves. A refrigerator with a chrome badge from the 1950s wasn't just a kitchen appliance, it was a promise. Department of Energy estimates put the average modern fridge's lifespan at 12 years, but back then, it was common for units to run 2 or even 3 decades. Collectors still find 1958 models quietly humming along in basements and garages. Cars rolled off Detroit assembly lines with the expectation they'd last at least 8 years before needing a major overhaul, and most could be fixed with parts from the local hardware store. Even radios and televisions were built for repair, with vacuum tubes, fuses, and chassis, all designed to be swapped out, not thrown away. Warranties often stretched 5 or 10 years, a level of confidence that's rare today. Advertising tapped into this reality, draping products in American flags and bold claims of engineered quality. Magazines ran spreads on the reliability of trucks built in the United States and the lasting power of American-made appliances. Surveys in the late 1950s found trust in the Made in USA label near absolute, an average rating of 4.6 out of 5. That trust wasn't just marketing spin, it was earned, stamped into steel and stitched into fabric. This was the benchmark, the era when American-made meant something you could count on. By the early 1980s, the math behind American manufacturing no longer worked in favor of quality or local jobs. Corporate boardrooms zeroed in on one simple fact: wages in China and Mexico ran 4 to 6 times lower than the United States average. While an American factory worker might earn $15 to $20 an hour, their counterparts abroad could be paid as little as $3 or even less. The incentive was irresistible for any chief executive officer under pressure to deliver quarterly profits. Trade agreements like NAFTA in 1994 and permanent normal trade relations with China in 2000 opened the floodgates. With tariffs slashed or eliminated, it became cheaper to ship parts halfway around the world than to keep production stateside. Imports of manufactured goods tripled from 1990 to 2005, ballooning from $100 billion to $300 billion. Meanwhile, the United States trade deficit soared to $317 billion at the start of the new millennium. Securities and Exchange Commission filings from that era read like a how-to manual for cutting corners. General Motors projected $500 million a year in savings by shifting auto parts to Silao, Mexico. Whirlpool forecast $300 million in lower component costs by moving appliance production out of Ohio and Iowa. Apple's decision to assemble iPods and iPhones in China saved the company more than $1 billion in labor and logistics. Levi Strauss closed its San Francisco and North Carolina plants, chasing a 30% drop in material and labor costs across Bangladesh, Vietnam, and China. But the real price was not just measured in dollars. When factories left, so did the people who policed quality on the shop floor. Supply chains stretched thin, oversight weakened, and the Made in USA promise started to mean less about where something was built and more about how much could be squeezed from a shrinking margin. The label endured, but the standards behind it quietly eroded, setting the stage for a new era of disposable goods. Manufacturers didn't just chase cheaper labor overseas, they rewired the very DNA of American products to fail sooner. Planned obsolescence became the new business model. Engineers, once guardians of durability, were quietly ordered to cut corners. In the 1980s, appliance makers swapped out steel gearboxes for brittle plastic ones, shaving years off the life of refrigerators and washing machines. Internal company memos show a calculated move. A 30% drop in lifespan meant more sales, more often. Printers followed suit. HP embedded chips that counted every printed page and shut down cartridges after a set number, no matter how much ink remained. This was not a technical necessity. It was a profit engine projected to rake in $1 billion in 5 years. The same logic hit your phone. Early iPhones shipped with batteries designed to survive just 500 full charge cycles. After that, performance tanked, nudging you toward a costly upgrade. Each change was justified as innovation, but the real innovation was in squeezing more money from every customer. The label on the box stayed the same, but the guts inside were built for obsolescence, not endurance. Red, white, and blue packaging still lines the shelves, but the story behind those labels has changed. The Federal Trade Commission allows a product to wear the Made in USA badge as long as just half of its production costs come from domestic sources. That means a company can bolt together foreign parts in an American warehouse, slap on a flag, and call it a day. The loophole is not a secret. Marketing departments have made an art out of exploiting it. Internal emails from a major denim brand spell it out. Our marketing team loves the Made in America story, but the cost structure forces us to source 80% of denim abroad. The real numbers stay buried in the supply chain, while the public gets a glossy ad campaign about American heritage. When the Federal Trade Commission does crack down, the punishments barely sting compared to the profits at stake. In 2020, Williams-Sonoma paid a $3 million settlement for selling cookware as Made in America when over 90% of the materials came from overseas. The product stayed on the shelf, the branding barely changed, and the fine was just a blip on the balance sheet. Marketers know the rules are soft, and the odds of getting caught are low. The result is a label that means whatever the company wants it to mean. Patriotic on the outside, foreign on the inside. Lordstown, Ohio once revolved around the General Motors assembly plant, a lifeline for 4,500 workers and the backbone of the local tax base. When General Motors closed the doors in 2019, chasing cheaper labor in Mexico, the fallout was immediate and brutal. City budget documents show a 12% plunge in property tax revenue within 2 years. That single factory shutdown didn't just idle workers, it gutted the finances for schools, police, and public services. The federal government stepped in with a redevelopment grant of $44 million, but no amount of money could fill the empty houses or revive the vanished paychecks. Census data track the damage. The local housing vacancy rate nearly doubled, surging from 9% to almost 19% as families packed up and left. Main Street shops shuttered, and the ripple spread to every corner. Restaurants, hardware stores, even the local Little League lost sponsors. The story repeats across the Rust Belt. Corporate decisions made in distant boardrooms left entire towns hollowed out, trading stable jobs and civic pride for a few more points on a quarterly earnings report. The cost isn't measured just in lost wages, but in broken communities and futures put on hold. A modern refrigerator is lucky to last 8 years before something major breaks down. That is a third less than just a generation ago, according to industry reliability data. When it does fail, the repair bill can be staggering. A new compressor that cost $180 in the 90s now runs $350 or more. And that is if you can even get the part. The same story plays out with washing machines, dishwashers, and cars. They have shorter lifespans, pricier repairs, and fewer options to fix things yourself. It is no wonder a recent Pew poll found 57% of Americans now see the Made in USA label as little more than a marketing gimmick. The numbers add up to a simple truth. The cost of corporate shortcuts lands squarely on the consumer's wallet. There is no shortcut to finding real quality anymore. Every label deserves a second look, and every so-called American product needs a closer audit. Start with the fine print on origin. If the parts or assembly are hidden behind vague claims, that is your first red flag. Check the warranty. A company confident in its product will stand behind it for years, not just months. Look for parts availability and whether repairs are even possible, or if you are locked out by design. Third-party ratings and independent reviews tell a truer story than any ad campaign. And if a brand still offers a long, no-nonsense warranty, that is worth more than any flag on the box. It is on us now to demand better, to read past the marketing, and to hold every purchase to a higher standard. Today, the Made in USA label is more marketing than meaning, protected by FTC loopholes and corporate spin. As offshoring endures, so does the illusion. What you buy now shapes what is built tomorrow. The real test is not patriotism. It is whether we still demand honesty over hollow nostalgia. Share your experience below.